Hey everyone, Ritesh Sharma here. Welcome to today's session on repetitions in Python. This is the part 3 of our Introduction to Python series. We will start today's session with a function called the range function. Then we will learn about a couple of operators which are used to increment and decrement values. Finally, we will end the session with loops. So without any further delay, let's get started. So getting started with today's topic, that is repetitions in Python. So how or what is the repetitions in Python? See, in our daily life we have things which repeat after a certain period, right? So for example, let's take a person. Let's say this person is Ram. Ram starts his day by waking up in the morning. Okay, he wakes up at let's say 8 a.m. After that, he does his morning chores. Okay, like bathing or brushing his teeth, and then having breakfast and some other things. After that, he goes to school. Okay, after coming back from school, he does a couple of more things, and at night he goes back to sleep. After waking up, you can see the cycle starts repeating itself. Right, we are repeating the tasks in our daily life. So as you can see from this example that we have repetitions in our daily life also. Okay, let's take another case. Let's say this person name is Rahul, and Rahul starts his day by waking up at maybe let's say 9 o'clock in the morning, and then he does again his morning chores, and let's say after that he goes to his job. So as you can see, in case of Rahul, he is waking up at 9 a.m. but Ram was waking up at 8 a.m. So there can be differences. Even let's say after Ram finishes his school, he has to go for a job, right? When he will go for a job, let's say he is waking up at 9 o'clock. So something is changed, right? There can be some conditions in your loop, and the things you are doing inside the loop can have some conditions. So the loops can be conditional also. Similar case you will find when we will study about loops in this particular session. Let's move on to the first topic of today's session, that is the range function. So what is the range function? First of all, let's understand something about functions, that every function returns something. Okay, it depends, and it varies from functions to function what it will return, but every function definitely returns something. For example, the function we learned about in the previous chapter, int. Let's say we use int, and inside int I put a value, let's say 1.23. So what result I will get after implementing the statement, the result I will get will be 1, which is the integer part of this value. Okay, so it returns the integer part of a number, right? Similarly, the range function, what it does, instead of you know uh, returning a single number, it returns a series of number. For example, if I want a range of 8 numbers, it will give me 1 to 8, right? So every range is in the form of a sequence. So let's take a range 1 2 3 4. So this is a range of 4 numbers. Every consecutive number is having a difference of 1, right? So I can say I have one step in between all the consecutive numbers, right? So in this way we use the range function. So let's see what is the syntax for writing the range function. First we write the name of the function, that is the range. Then we give it a starting position. Then we give it a stopping point. Then we give it the steps or the difference in between the consecutive points or numbers. So let us understand each and every segment of this range function. So this starting point, what it is I will say it is an optional part. You don't have to write it. If you want to use it, you can write it down. What it does is basically it specifies at what number the series will start. Okay, so it gives you the starting point. What stop point does, let's see. So stop point is required, it is not optional. Okay, so it is required, you have to write it down. So what is the stopping point does? It specifies at what number the series will end. So I can say it is the ending point. And at last, what are the steps? Steps are again optional part. Okay, you don't have to mention it all the time. If in case you find it useful, you can mention it. So what it does basically, it specifies how the series is incremented or decremented. Okay, so if I want to increment by 1, I can add 1. If I want to decrement by 1, I can subtract by 1. Okay, if it is not specified, the incremental value is 1. So by default, this value will be assigned to this position. Okay, if your series is in descending order, you have to provide the steps as a negative number. So if the series is in descending order, let's say I'm using this series 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In this case, the steps used will be this one. Okay, let's take couple of examples to understand the range function. So let's say I write the range function like this. Range 1, 6, 1. What this will return? This will return me these values. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. It will not return 6. Okay, it will return value till 6. So it will return me 5 values. So if I want 5 values, I have to add one value to it, and then I have to give that value to the stopping point. Let's take another example. Let's say I write the range function like this. So range 1, 10, 2. So here you can see the steps are 2. So after every point, 2 will be added. So I'll write first from I'll start the range from 1. So the first number will be 1. Then 2 will be added. So the next number will be 3. So far, so on till 9. Okay. Let's take one more example. Let's say I need a decrementing series or a descending order based series. So how I can write that? I will write like this. Range 5, 1 minus 1. So what this will return? This will return 5. Sorry. 4, 3, 2. It will go just 1 point before 1. Okay, and it will stop. Let's take the last example in which I'm not specifying uh, the steps and the starting point. Okay, let's take that example. So range comma 5. What this will return? This will return me numbers starting from 1 or 0, and it will return me numbers till 5. Okay, so it will return 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it's going to return 5 numbers. Okay, but by default it will start from 0. Okay, moving on to the next topic of today's session, that is increment and decrement operators. So increment and decrement operators. So what are increment and decrement operators? These are some special operators which are used to increment and decrement values along the program. Okay, so what are the types of increment and decrement operators? Let's see all of those one by one. So the first operator is this one, addition operator. What it does, it adds 1, or so what it does, let me give you one example. So if I write a equals to a plus 1, we all know what this equation means, right? What this means is whatever value a has, 1 will be added to it, and then the total will be assigned to a again, right? If I want to use this operator to do this, then how I can write that like this: a plus equals to 1. So this statement is equal to a equals to a plus 1 statement. Okay, so both of these statements are actually same in Python. Okay, now let's see the decrement operator, that is represented like this: minus and equal to. So let's take another example. In this example, I will write a equals to a minus 1. We all know what it does. It subtracts 1 from a and saves the result in a again. So if I have to write that using the decrement operator, I can write that like this: a minus equal to 1. Okay, so what it does, it is actually subtracting 1 from a and storing that back into a. So this statement is equal to a equals to a minus 1 statement. Okay, it is just short, that's it. That's the only difference. So if I have to subtract 2 from a, I can write like this: a minus equal to 2. So moving on to the last topic of today's session, that is loops, also known as by the technical name in programming languages, that is control statements. Okay, so loops are also known as control statements in different programming languages. So why these loops are called control statements? Because a loop controls how many times a task will repeat. Okay, so how many times a task will repeat is decided by the loop. So you can also say the loop is controlling the movement of the task or the execution of the task, right? So that's why loops are also known as control statements. So the first loop or the control statement we are going to learn in today's session is known as the for loop. Okay, with for loop you use the range function which we studied about in the beginning of today's session. So as we know, range function is written like this: range in the bracket start comma stop comma step, right? This is how the range function is written. So in order to use a range function with for, we have to assign a variable to this function. Okay, so the syntax for writing the for loop or the statement is like this. First we write the name of the statement, that is for. Then we write the variable name, let's say maybe x. Then we use in range. Then we give it three values, that is the starting point, stopping point, and the steps. So this is how you write a range, the for statement in Python. After writing the for loop or the for statement, what do? You put an indent in the next line by pushing the tab button on your keyboard, and you write the statements. Okay, you can write a statement or you can write a number of statements, or I will say the task you want to perform after using the indent. Okay, so whatever will be right, whatever you will so whatever you will write after the indent will be under the supervision of the loop. So loop will decide how many times this particular task will be executed. So it will decide how many times a statement or a number of statements will be executed. So let's say let's write a program for printing numbers from 1 to 10. So how we can write that? We can write that like this. So first we will write the name of the loop, that is for. Then I'll use a variable name, let's say x. Then I will write in range. Then I will use the values 1 because I have to start from 1, and I have to print numbers from 1 to 10. So if I want to print from 1 to 10, I have to write here 11. Then the steps are 1 because I have to print them one by one. Then I will put indent in the next line by pressing the tab button on my keyboard. Then I will use the print command like this. Print, inside print, I will put the variable which I have used here. Okay, and one thing you need to remember is that after writing the loop, after ending the loop, you have to put a colon. Okay, so here at the end you have to put a colon. Okay, that is mandatory. So this is the program for printing numbers from 1 to 10. So what it will do, it will print numbers from 1 to 10 like this. 1, it will go into next line, it will print 2, again it will go into the next line, and it will print 3, and it will keep on printing until it reaches 10, and the loop will exit or it will end. Okay, so how many times the loop is repeating depends on what you have written in these brackets. Okay, so that is all what is there related to the for loop. So we have seen that we can print values in next line, right? So here you can see after every execution, when the loop is repeating, the value is being printed in the next line. Sorry. So what if I want to print numbers like this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so far so on till 10. What if I want to print numbers like this? How I can do that? So there I have to do a small change in the print command. What change I will do? I will write the print command like this. Print in the bracket x comma end equals to double inverted commas and bracket close. That's it. Using this extra part, what do? You stop the new line function. Okay, it's an internal function. It will not go to the next line until you tell it to go to the next line. So how you can tell it to go to the next line? You can simply write like this: print in the bracket actually nothing, and this, what this will do, this will take you to the next line. Okay, so if I want to print the numbers like this horizontally, I can do that by using this command. Okay, so there is one more loop available in today's session, so let's see what that loop is all about. The name of that loop is while loop. So in English we have a statement, we can have a statement that is while something is happening, I will do something, right? So similarly you have the while control statement or the while loop in Python programming also. So while the condition which is used with the while loop will be true, it will keep on repeating itself. Okay, so I can write like this: while the condition is true, again I have to end it with the colon sign, then I have to put an indent, and then I will write the task, right? So it will keep on repeating this task until this condition becomes false. Okay, so this is what a while loop is all about. Let's take an example and see how we can use the while command. So I'll give you one example, like maybe let's say I initiate a variable x with a value 1, then I will write the while command like this: while in the brackets x is less than or equal to 5, bracket close, colon, then print x. It will keep on printing x in the next line, and then x plus equal to 1. Here I am using the increment operator, and without using the indent, I will use the print command like this: print in the bracket program ends. Okay, so what this program will do, this will start x with 1, then this condition inside the while loop is checked. If this condition is true, as you can see it is true, it will go inside the while loop and it will print x. So what will be printed? 1 will be printed, and then x, the value of x will be incremented by 1. So the current value is 1, so it will become 2, and then it will repeat the loop. It will again check the condition. So 2 is less than equal to 5, yeah, condition is true. Then it will again go inside the loop, it will print x, that is 2 now, so it will print 2. Again the value will be incremented, now the value is 3, the condition will be checked, yes, this time also it is true, and it will print 3. Then the value of x will be incremented. Now the value becomes 4. Still the value is less than or equal to 5. The condition is true, so the value will be printed. So 4 will be printed. The value will be incremented again, the value will become 5. So if it becomes 5, let me erase this. Okay, so it will become 5. Still the condition is true, so 5 will be printed, and then the value will be incremented. Now you can see the condition is like this: 6 less than equal to 5, which is not true, so it is false. So what will happen? It will exit the loop, and this statement will be printed, which is presenting the next line. So what will be printed? Program ends. Okay, and the program is finished.
30. So let's do some programming. We will do 9 programs in this session, and the first program is to find the sum of the natural numbers from 21 to 30, and the condition is you have to include both the numbers 21 and 30. So let's write a program for that. So this is the program. So what we have to do first, in the first statement, I'm initiating a variable sum to store the sum of all the values. Okay, and the value I'm assigning to that variable is 0. Okay, after that, what I'm doing, I'm creating a for loop, okay, or a control statement with using a variable x, and I'm starting that variable from 21 because we have to add numbers from 21 to 30, right? And the condition is there that we have to include both 21 as well as 30, so I have to go till 31, not till 30. Okay, so that's why I have used 31 here, and I have to add all the numbers in between 21 to 30, so the steps will be one only. Then in the for loop, I have included one task, that is to add every other number and add that number to sum. Okay, so for that I'm using the increment operator. I'm incrementing actually the value of sum by the numbers in between 21 to 30. Okay, and finally when the loop ends and all the numbers in between 21 to 30 are added, those the result will be stored in the variable sum. So at the end I'm printing the value of sum. So let's save the program and execute it by pressing F5. So I have pressed F5, and you can see the result is 255. So 255 is actually the sum of all the natural numbers from 21 to 30. So the next program we are going to do today is to find the sum of natural numbers from m to n, where m and n are input by the user. Okay, so it is similar to this program, but in this case, the starting point and the ending point will be entered by the user. Okay, so let's write down the program for that. So I will delete this one and print the other one. Okay, so this is the program. So in the starting two lines, what I am doing is I'm asking the user to enter the value for m and storing the value in the variable m, and then I'm asking the user to enter the value for n and storing the value in n. Then again I'm creating a variable to store the sum of all the values from m to n, and I have created a for loop for that. the starting point for that for loop is m, and it is ending at n, and it is adding all the numbers from m to n. So the steps I've selected is 1. Okay, again I'm using here the increment operator, and I'm incrementing the value of sum by m. Okay, and finally when the loop ends, I'm printing the value of sum. That's it. Let's save the program and run it using the F5 key. Okay, so I have to enter the value for m. Let's say we use the same program. I will enter 21, and I will enter 31. Okay, so as we know the result expected is 255, right? So let's hit enter, and yes, you can see it is giving you the same result. Moving on to the third program, that is a program to find the sum of all even numbers from m to n, where m and n are input by the user. Okay, let's see. Let's delete this program and print the new one. Okay, so this is the program which we are going to see. In this program, what I'm doing in the beginning, I'm asking the user to enter the values of m and n, and then I'm initiating the variable sum with the value 0. Then I have created a loop. I guess you are familiar with it from the last program. And then this statement I'm putting inside the for loop. Okay, so this for loop is controlling this statement. What this statement is doing, this is checking whether the number, okay, I'm using the variable m. So whether the number entered by the user, whether the number in this range from m to n, whatever number comes in between these two numbers m and n, whether that number is an even number or not. So I'm checking that here. If that is an even number, then I'm adding that number to the value of sum. If this condition is not true, that means it is false, in that case it will do nothing and it will repeat the for loop again. So that means all the odd values will be neglected. So this is what program is asking us to do. So finally when the loop ends, after running from m to n, what it will do, it will print the value of sum. So let's save the program and run it. So it is asking me to enter the value for m. I will enter the value for m, let's say maybe 5, or let's say maybe 1. Okay, and I will hit enter, and it is asking me to enter the value of n. I will put maybe 6. So let's count how many even numbers are there. There is 2, 4. Yeah, there are just two numbers in between 1 and 6. 6 will not be included. Okay, I guess you all know why 6 is not included. So 2 plus 4 is 6. So the result expected is 6. Let's see whether we get the expected results or not. Enter. Yes. So the result is 6. So moving on to the fourth program, that is to display the multiplication table of a number entered by the user up to 10 times. So all what we have to display is, let's say we are the user entered 1, and we have to display the table of 1 up to 10 times. So what will be displayed is 1 into 1 equals to 1, and then 1 into 2 equals to 2 up to 1 into 10 equals to 10. So all what is required to be printed is this. So let's delete this program and paste the new one. So what is happening in this program is, in the first statement, I'm asking the user to enter a number whose table he or she wants to display, and storing the number inside a variable m. After that, I'm storing whatever number we got that is stored inside M inside another variable named number. So why I'm doing this step is because I need a constant value, right? So if you can see the table which needs to be printed as let's say for 1 into 1 equals to 1, 1 into 2 equals to 2. So in this case you can see on the left side of x something is repeating, right? So this thing I want to be saved inside one variable. So for that I'm using the number variable. So it will store the number which is entered by the user. Okay, and it will save it in a different section. Then I'm initiating a value. Okay, so store the result of different levels, that is with whatever is present on the right side of the table. Okay, so the results of the multiplication, in order to store that I'm using a variable that is value. Now coming in the for loop, I'm running the for loop 10 times because I have to draw a table or display a table up to 10 times. So I'm starting it from 1 and taking it to the number 11 because I want to display the multiplication up to 10 times. So that's why I'm using the number 11. I'm taking it to up to 11, and I have to do it after every one step. So I'm using 1 here. Now inside the for loop, what I'm doing, I'm doing the simple multiplication, and I'm multiplying the current state of the for loop, that is going from 1 to 10. So I'm using I for that. Okay, what is I? I is nothing but this middle section of the multiplication table, that is 1, 2, 3, and so forth, so on till 10. Okay, so for that I'm using I. Okay, so I, the value of I will be 1 to 10, and I'm multiplying all the numbers with the number. Okay, what is this number? This is nothing but the number entered by the user. So the result of multiplication will be stored inside the variable value, and I'm printing this. What this will print? This will print first the number. Okay, so the number, let's say the user entered 1, so here 1 will be printed every time. Okay, that is printing x because I need x here in order to symbolize multiplication, and then I'm getting the value of I from the for loop, that is from 1 to 10. So for the middle range of the multiplication, and then I'm using the equal to sign. I'm printing the equal to sign because here you can see I've printed equal to sign. Then I'm printing the result of the value or the result of the multiplication. So that's all what is there in this program. So let's run the program again. If I'll save the program first and I'll push F5. So it is asking me to enter the number whose table I want to display. So let's say I want to display the table of 5. Okay, so I'll click here and enter 5. I'll push enter, and you can see the table of 5 is printed. Okay, so it is printing the table of 5 line by line. Okay, done. Moving on to the fifth program, that is to display the multiplication table of m up to n times, where the numbers m and n are entered by the user. So this time the number whose table we want to display is selected by the user, and also how many times you want to you know display the table is also selected by the user. So let's do that. Let's delete this program, paste the new one. Okay, so this is the program for the required question. Okay, so what we are doing here is in the first two statements, I'm asking the user to enter values for m and n. M inside m, what I am storing is the number whose value or whose table we want to display, and inside n, what I am doing, I'm storing the value of how many times I want the multiplication to be done. Okay, so the same things, I'm creating the variable number to store the number, and then I'm creating a variable named value to store the value of each uh, multiplication. Okay, done at every step. Okay, now for I in range, I'm creating a for loop. Here you can see a little difference, that I'm taking the loop from 1 to n plus 1. Why I'm doing that? Because let's say the user wants the multiplication to be done 10 times, right? If you want to do it 10 times, then the range you have to take is from 1 to 11, right? That is n plus 1. How many times you want to do it, you have to add 1 to it, right? Because it will perform how many times? N times, but you have to mention n plus 1 here, right? So because of that reason, I'm using n plus 1 instead of n in this for loop. And then again, I'm doing the same thing which we did in the earlier program, that I'm storing the result of every multiplication in every step inside the variable named value, and then I'm printing the same thing which I did in the earlier program. Okay, let's save it and press F5 to run it. Okay, so it is asking me to enter the number whose table I want to display. So let's enter again 5, and how many times I want the multiplication to be done. Let's say 10 times. I'll hit enter, and you can see 10 times it is done. So in case of n plus 1, if I replace n plus 1 with n, let's see what will happen, or what changes I will see. Let's run the program again. Let's enter the number. Let's say 5 again, and how many times I want multiplication to be done. 10 times. Done. So see, it did 9 times this time. Okay, instead of going till 10, it is going till 9, because it is going to which point? N minus 1 point. So if you want it to go n times, then you have to type here n plus 1. Moving on to the sixth program, that is to input salary of an employee and display the salary that the person will receive for each of the next 5 years if he gets an increment of 10% every year. Okay, let's see the program. So this is the program. In this program, in the first line, what I'm doing, I'm asking the user to enter the basic salary and storing that salary in the variable n. Then here in the next line, I'm storing the current salary in total. I'm doing that just because I want a different variable to store the total or the net salary after the increment is done after every year for next 5 years. Okay, so that's the only reason. Yeah, you can skip this step, and here you can type m instead of uh, total. Okay, that is perfectly fine. Now after that, I'm creating a for loop to run 5 times, starting from 1 to 6, so that it will run from 1 to 5, because I need the total salary for every year for next 5 years. Okay, so that's why I'm running it for 5 times. Inside the for loop, the task is to increment the salary by 10%. That is done here, and here I'm using the increment operator. So The total salary in the initial step will be whatever the basic salary is, and 10% will be added to it every year. Okay, and that particular amount, the total amount, will be printed in the next statement. So what will be printed here is first it will print your salary after I. The I is the particular year I have taken from this variable, and then it will print year or years, then the value, total value after that particular year. Okay, so I will save the program and run it. So it is asking me to enter my salary. Let's enter 10,000 and hit enter. Okay, so every year it is incrementing the value by 10%. So after 1 year, my salary will be 11,000. After 2 years, it will be 12,000. After 3 years, 13,000. So far, so on till 5 years. So the next program is to input the principal rate of interest and display the simple interest to be paid at the end of each year for n years. Okay, let's see the program. Let's delete this old program and paste it. Paste the new program. Okay, there's one indent missing. Yes, it is correct now. So initially what I'm doing, I'm asking the value, the person to enter the values for P, R and N. What are P, R and N? P is the principal, R is the rate of interest, and N is actually the number of years. Okay, so in the for loop, I'm running it n times. So as you know, if you want to run it n times, you have to mention n plus 1 here. Then simply I'm implementing the formula for simple interest, that is P into R into T divided by 100, and I am printing the simple interest after that particular year that I have taken from this variable which I have used in the for loop, then years or year, then the simple interest for that particular year. Okay, so let's save the code and run it. So it is asking me to enter the principal, let's say maybe 5, then the rate of interest maybe 2, and number of years, how many number of years, let's say 10, and hit enter. So it calculated simple interest for 10 years. So moving on to the next program, that is to display the sum of factors of n which is input by the user. Let's see the program. Let's delete this old program and paste the new one. So this is the program. What I'm doing in this program is in the beginning I'm asking the user to enter any number, and I'm storing that particular number in the variable n, and then I'm initiating a variable named sun and storing a value 0 inside it. Then here in the loop, I'm doing something which you need to understand. See, in order to uh, you know check factors of any number, what you have to do is you have to start from 1 and you have to go till the number, and you have to divide every number in between that range by the specific number. If that number is divisible by the number entered by the user perfectly, then you have to, then that means it is a factor of that number, right? Then in this case, for this program, we have to add that number to the sum. Okay, so this is what I'm doing here. So I've created a range which will run n times, that is from 1 to the number the user has entered. So let's say the user entered 10, so it will run from 1 to 10. So from 1 to 10, I'm checking whether number is divisible by the number entered by the user. Okay, so if it is divisible by the number entered by the user, in that case it is a factorial, and then the value of sum will be incremented by that specific number. So in short, what these three lines are doing, these three lines are adding all the numbers, all the factors of that particular number with each other and giving you the result. After you got the result, we will print the final value. So what we are doing in the last line, we are printing the sum of factors of that particular number n, which we received from the user, is sum. So I'll put a bracket here. I'll save the code and I'll run it. Okay, it is asking me to enter a number. Let's enter 6 and hit enter. So the sum of factors of 6 is 12. Do the math. If it is correct, let me know. Moving on to the last program of the session, that is to display the sum of even factors of a number input by the user. So I guess the same program will be used, just a small change we have to make. Let's see the new program. Yes. So this is the new program. In this program, what is changed is that after checking whether the number is the factorial of that number which is entered by the user or not, we are checking the number is even or not. If it is even, then we have to add it only. If it is odd, then we will not add it. Okay, so what it will return? It will return the sum of even factors of that specific number to us. Okay, let's save the code and run it. Okay, I'll delete this one and save it again and run it. Okay, so it is asking me to enter a number. Let's enter 6 again. Let's see the results. So this time the result is 8 instead of 12. Why? Because we are excluding some numbers which are odd and we are adding only even factors of 6. Okay, so that is the result.